Thanks for staying with us. So, in the last few weeks, many Nigerians have been mourning Herbert Wigwe, his wife, and their son, and who died in a helicopter crash in the U.S. And it's been such a painful experience for many Nigerians, loved ones, family members. In the last 24 hours, there was a night of tributes that many people came from all over the business world, came in to pay their last respects to him and his entire family. And the night of tributes had quite a bit of high-level businessmen being there. So Dangote was there to speak. The vice president was there. One of his closest friends, Aye Gimokwede, was also there. The Emir Sanusi was there. His children spoke. And even his PA, who was the last person to see him alive, also had a few words to say. It was an opportunity to even have an understanding of what happened. According to the PA, from what he said at the night of tribute, he said that they had come in fact, Mr. Bimbo, who followed them, he was one that asked that he wanted to see Herbert. And he kept trying to let me know that, listen, he's up and down. He's not going to be in one place at the same time. But he insisted that he would stick around for him. Anyways, they came into the U.S., into Palm Springs. And when they arrived, the idea was to go from Palm Springs to their final destination. And then they had their bags. They couldn't put their bags in a helicopter. So they had to get a vehicle to carry to convey the suitcases to their final destination. But he said he was supposed to enter the helicopter, but he realized that as a PA, when I get there, I still have to wait. I can't sleep until those luggages arrive. Yeah. That's my job to ensure. So instead of going on the helicopter, let me go with the luggages and stay with the luggages so that we go and arrive at the same time. And that's what happened. And that's how he did not enter the helicopter. He said that even while he was on the plane with Herbert, he asked him, are you sure you want to enter this helicopter? He said, yes, that this is America. They have GPS, they have all the technology to support, to allow a helicopter like this to fly at this time of night. So that's what saved his life. And obviously, he was the last person to see him alive, and he told him, safe flight. And then he started calling, and then found out what happened. Really, really heartbreaking, I would say. But I think also what the night of tributes also played out is how, at that level, Nigerians can be one. You know how football brings us together as a nation. We don't remember ethnicity. We don't remember religion. We don't remember tribe when it comes to football.
Death also.
Death brings us together. We don't remember all the politicking. We don't remember whose party you're from, which tribe you belong to. We all come together as Nigerians. And I think as much as we like to pay tributes to this man, we might have to also use this as an opportunity to remind ourselves of our oneness as a people. I don't know how that plays out.
So for me, there are two things that you cannot change in life. You are born, you will die. When it will happen, how it will happen, we pray for a peaceful exit. But it's an appointment every human being will keep. It's the appointment day of death. And I think that it's always important that when we are setting goals or planning for our life, we plan about what I want people to say when I go. When I'm gone, what will they say about me? And it's not true that people don't remember the hurts or division when people die. People do. People talk about, if a bad person on his burial day, they will yimu on his grave. They do. They would talk about how, you see, all the money, did you carry it and go? When I was asking for this one, when I was saying for this one, like people still talk bad about the dead, even though we all culturally know that we shouldn't. Yet, the death burial ceremonies remind us of how our life is an opportunity. Yeah. Our life is an opportunity. It is just grace. It is just grace that we are all enjoying being alive and help us to cherish the life that we have per time. Herbert's testimonials were touching. I think that, like you said during the newspaper review, was seeing Herbert the human being than Herbert the CEO and business icon. And it's easy for us to look at business. Like, I've never thought about Dangote and thought about him as a human being, having friends. It was surprising to see Dangote cry, because we just see him and we don't see that he's a human being. We just see him as this very rich man that owns everything. But
whose world is perfect.
Whose world is perfect. But we're now seeing him and seeing that this is a human being. No? He has wife, he has children, he has friends, there's pain, there are challenges. So for me, it was interesting to see Herbert beyond the iconic CEO and innovative young person that revolutionized the banking sector in Nigeria. And once again, my heart goes out to all his family and friends left behind.
Oh, I really hope this consoles his family members, his parents, particularly his children, because just as Tokwe said, it's not everybody who dies and people hear good things about them. And it's also very nice to see what people do. You know, at death, you just, like, I remember we're sitting at home after my dad passed, and a stranger walked into the house. And he kept saying, "Where's this Baba? Where's this?" I heard that, I just came to respect. That one left. Nobody knew who he was. Then another person came, but he came with a student of my father, a Muslim, an Arabic student of my dad. And the man then said, his businesses had been funded by my father. All 5 of us were seated, my mom seated. And it was a secret sadaqah Baba did for him. And the man said, "I usually bring back the fund, but you ask, how is your business doing? If I say it's not enough, doing well enough, he says, take it back and make sure your family is cared for. So I have his funds, but I would like to return it." And so we had to let it go. So it's always nice to see the person you've known after their death with the kind of life they lived. You know, death reveals it all. Imagine Emir Sanusi all the way in Kano. Kano foul, you know, and, you know, Herbert in Lagos, who could have just been, "I'm the CEO, I don't have the problems you have, I don't care who you are, I don't know you," and all of that. But he was the one helping him out. I did not hear a northerner providing a residence and accommodation for his family. It was Herbert Wigwe, who's from Rivers, who is doing it for him, who is the friends that he could reach out to the extent that, you know, an Islamic leader that he is, because he's the leader of the Tijaniya movement, putting up a trust. You know, the way Islamic trusts are done is different from the way normal trusts are done. But for him to put up a trust and think, some people say, don't put a non-Muslim, and think, this is the person I can trust. He says he was so sure that even if he died penniless, Herbert would take care of his kids. You know, crossing the divides that we always hear about. The team, you know, takes us beyond all these things that we carry around. You know, I have more than you, I'm not less than you, I'm not more than you. People should start looking at the most important things, which is, you know, and trust, kindness, you know, the ability to be able to depend on someone, whether or not the person has more than you or you have more than the person, is something unique. And these are the lessons that we should take home from here. I'm happy that his daughter can see the extent of his work and his kindness, and I hope that the children surviving and his parents receive much more than he gave when he was alive. It's important because, you know, people make speeches.
Then they disappear.
Then they disappear. Experience.
Come to BC,
You know,
it was sad, especially for my husband, because he worked very closely with him for, I think, about a year plus or so, and he knew him one-on-one. He would call his name, they would go for meetings, they would go for, you know, transactions together. And when, in fact, for like a week, my husband could not do much work. He felt like somebody from his family had died. And I did not understand the relationship. And I kept saying, but you're no longer with him. You have left working with him and everything. He said, you don't understand the extent to which this man is good. You don't understand to the extent with which this man impacted everybody that worked with him. You don't get it. BC, you don't get it. You know, and then when I heard, you know, some of the things people said, I sort of started understanding his kind of person. And this is just showing that at the end of the day that everything is vanity. Those things that we are constantly chasing and pushing and fighting for, at the end of the day, nobody is getting out of here alive. We'll still leave them behind. And now the question will be, how do I live my life? How do I live my life in a way that I fulfill my purpose? I looked at, you know, all the work that he has done. Aside from the work, which is being a CEO, being an enigma in the banking industry, he was also able to help people genuinely. He was also able to lift people up. And that's, for me, why we are here, basically. We're just here to love and learn how to love. And he, as far as I'm concerned, had fulfilled that in his purpose on life. And no matter what happens, his name will always be etched in the sands of time, that he came, he showed up, he appeared, and he left. I can never forget him. So my thoughts afterwards was, how am I living my life? Honestly, how am I living my life in a way that I am fulfilling the reason that I am here? In a way that I am impacting. I may not have, you know, the kind of clout that he has. I may not have the kind of money and resources that he has, but in my little way, what am I doing with the people around me, you know, while I'm living here? And also, you know, you mentioned while you were giving your first analogy, and you said that everybody was united. You just showed the oneness. Nobody was thinking religion. Nobody was thinking anything. And that also tells us that we have always used religion and ethnicity and tribalism to divide ourselves, to divide the core of ourselves. And like they said, that religion is the opium of the masses. It's used to control. So when next you're sitting down to fight somebody who does not believe in your belief, ask yourself, what exactly is separating me and this person? Are we not one? Are we not supposed to be one? We can have our different beliefs and our different traditions and different cultures, but we are one. And allow that humanity to, you know, aid us when we are relating with people.
So, but there's a tough part of this conversation that many of us have just refused to discuss. And it's the fact that this issue of death, I don't want to be very morbid this morning because, hey, but sometimes when things like this happen, you have to go back to this Almighty. That, okay, yes, Herbert may have completed his assignment because he has impacted the world and done this, but his son did not deserve to be here. His wife also probably did not deserve to be in that place. So it also is an opportunity for us to also rethink, because sometimes you ask God, why? Why would a young man, obviously, he's the heir of this empire. He's somebody who is young, just has his entire life ahead of him. And you're thinking, okay, why?
How do you know who deserves? How do you, so the thing is, we can't remember the time we signed. It's like products on the shelf. Every product has a different expiry date. The corned beef would expire differently from the sausage and from the sweet corn and from the baked beans, depending on the shelf life each package comes with. And as human beings, because this is not really who we are, this skin, this body has a shelf life. But when we come here, we forget. So you may sit down and say, this child died at 10. This child did not live. You don't know the expiry dates the child came with. So one of the ways that we used to just make people not feel so, or ask too many questions, why? Even our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ died at 33. 33 at this age, you say that's an untimely death, right? But he fulfilled his purpose and he left. So one of the ways that you help people to understand that if it's not your time, you will not go. You go when it is your time, and that means that your presence here has expired. And that does not mean it's the end of everything. You have moved on to somewhere else, and you may likely come back when you want to. But for you to just feel that, okay, this is the time, or this is not the time, is not for us to, we really can't tell when is your time. And we can't also tell that this person has died or timely or not, because we do not know, or we cannot remember when we signed that we are living here. I had a friend who lost the father sometime, and the father was quite a very young man, and we had a conversation. I don't like to talk to people when they are bereaved, because I'm very careful of, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to grieve with people, right? And I also watch where you are. There are some people, you give some information, they would not be able to, accept it, or they would feel you're not empathizing enough with them. So I like to run away, but I had to call her because I had worked with her before, and I know where her mindset is, and I know that she understands some deep things. So I called her, and we started having a conversation, and I was asking, what was your father doing? What sort of work did he do? How did he die? Blah, 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 blah. And we got into that conversation, and I said, this man has lived. And I know that it's painful because you still have younger ones who are looking up to him to cater for them. But just look at it in a way that if he does not go at the time he's meant to go, he may also truncate the destiny of those people. They may need to experience this actually to be able to move on to where they're supposed to be. You know, we just found a way to, and at the end of the conversation, I was like, of all the people that have been coming to talk to me, you hit something. You hit something in me. So it's gloomy. It's a bad thing. We don't like the experience. Nobody likes to die. We want to stay here forever, but we cannot dodge it.
There was a quick story that was very similar to Buttress, that a man whose father sort of died prematurely. There are many people that have set up sickle cell foundations that have in turn saved hundreds of lives simply because they lost their own child prematurely. People have set up foundations to help deal with crisis that they lost someone they loved too. Somebody can ensure that we are able to, maybe somebody from his lineage would ensure we have less helicopter accidents, or we have better protection for them because of what happened. So there is good from every bad that happens if we learn how to deal with it. I also wanted to talk about the fact that when we face death, it shouldn't be something that we'll be scared of. Because I know many people, when they see, be like, I don't want to put obituary in my house. I don't want to watch a story about somebody dying prematurely. I don't know why. It should remind us to be intentional about the quality of life we're living and the impact we are having. So that we understand the fact that, I want people to talk like this when I go. I don't want them to come and only like 3 people can talk, or only 2 people can talk about personal relationship with me. I want there to be a long list of those that will say, I don't have a platform, but I'll use social media. Because there were some people that are using social media to share their own story because they didn't get to be on stage, and they were talking about their personal experiences. Former employees of Access Bank and current employees of Access Bank, that they will never, they're not big enough to get on the podium, but they still said, I would use on my own Twitter platform to share about my story, how it pushed me to be excellent, or how this one. So it goes beyond the big people that will see us and the small people that will see us. Mourning, I know you want to go and talk about the controversy.
No. I want to hear from Nima's thoughts on the...
how death,
Yeah, because I know, because, again, as I said, it was really, really
like this
painful. You know, nobody wants to accept that 3 members of the family died at once.
This is like, what did I do to deserve this?
Our hearts really go out to the entire family. It's the children that remain, the girl and the boy. We didn't hear from the young man, but we heard from the daughter. I guess he wasn't really... but I think we see things differently. I was going to see if you want to say something concerning that.
I don't want to sound too deep, because I have experienced grief dealing with it. And one thing I've learned is that in death is grace. I've seen people who are sick, really, really sick. I've seen people who are dealing with things they'd rather not. And for those who die without experiencing it, it's a blessing. You know, so I have come to accept some kind of, what I would consider early death. For me, I didn't think I never thought my dad would die at that age. He died. I never thought. I thought, because we lived long in the family line where I'm from. My grandfather was 106 when he died. So I thought, that was how it would be. But I've come to accept the death of my loved one as grace on him, as a blessing at the time he left, and as a blessing and a lesson to his kids, for us to see things better, for us to broaden up. So I am also hoping that with time, the lessons of the timing and his death will come to his loved ones.
Let me take Ayobami from Alaba, then we're going to break. Ayobami from Alaba, thanks for calling. You're live.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, we lost that. Let's go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll try to conclude on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.